Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. We're getting started in just a moment, but man, it is good to see each and everybody today. We're going to be talking about Idea Night, which was one of the most exciting events that we have at the Idea Network all year long. So this is an annual event. We're really thankful because some of you are doing this for the second time. This is your second Idea Night to host. And we're grateful for that. We're excited about it. Some of you, this is your very first time. And so you need every single detail. You want to know where to dot the I's and how to cross the T's to make sure you get the most out of this effort of bringing in pastors from your community for a moment of fellowship, for a moment of idea sharing, for a moment of relationship building. And so we're planning on being able to give you all of that information, even in this training session. Now, many of you were with us about a month ago when we had our first training session for the Idea Night. We covered some material. We're going to cover some other information as well as give you opportunity to answer any questions that you might have. But before we go any further, we want the Lord to come in and minister unto us and use this moment to be a help to each and every one. So let's go to him in prayer and ask God to use this. I'm going to go to Stephen Ashmore. If you'll unmute yourself, could you open us up in a word of prayer and ask the Lord to bless this meeting?
Yeah, let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we love you and we thank you for this great opportunity that we have to reach out and connect and, Lord, be an encouragement and a blessing to those that serve in the communities around us. Lord, I ask that you would use this time as we prepare our minds and our ministries to be a part of such a great work, Lord, that you'd help us today, help us to be encouraged and ready to have a wonderful Idea Night. Lord, thank you for Josh and Josh Tice and Josh Ermler and their vision for all of this. And Lord, just use them and use the speakers in our hearts as well. And Lord, we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
How can you thrive as a church through a multitude of unified and diverse leaders within your congregation? How can you make sure your deacons, your elders, or your ministry leaders, your pastors, all together on the same page? That's what we want to talk about today. And there are 3 steps that I want to share with you.
Churches need to be leading the way when it comes to technology. Gone are the days where the church can be behind the curve, where we are slow to catch up to new technology. I think we need to be out front and leading, so when whatever is thrown at us, we can respond with the best tools available. And so in the context of generosity, make sure that income can keep coming in, which obviously keeps the doors open, keeps the gospel being preached, and keeps the kingdom advancing. So I'm going to talk about 3 things specifically, 2 things about how to increase recurring giving, and just one overall foundation point that I think, anyone who's listening to this is going to agree with wholeheartedly.
He said in John 4, I must needs go through Samaria. Most people went around. The direct route was through. But because of the circumstance with Jews and Samaritans, they went around. Can I say to you about these areas? We've spent too much time going around. It's time to deal with them. It's time to admit they exist. Where is the compulsion in pastors and leaders and members that say, we can't keep acting like this is fine. It's going to go away. We can't keep making it taboo. We got to deal with it.
The majority of guests who come to our in-person gatherings have visited the church online first. Now, whether that's watching a live stream or going to YouTube and watching through a series of sermons, most people now are interacting with our church online first. And your online ministry really is the new lobby of your church. It's where they're getting their first impressions from. So let's talk a little bit about online ministry, not just live stream, and that might be a part of it, but a more holistic perspective of online ministry.
I think we often struggle at being proactive with time management because there's a sense of guilt involved. So when you prioritize your time, you have to learn to say no. I mean, actually, you have to learn to say no much more than you say yes. And to know what to say no to and what to say yes to, those are things you have to pre-think. And that's why I'm saying you have to be proactive in thinking through it. And then relieving yourself of the guilt of saying no. One of those is an 8-day week. I jokingly call it that because as my staff, when I told our staff, like, look, you can have 2 days off as long as you work 6. And I realized there's 7 days in a week, but what I was playing off of is all about time and how you schedule your time.
How many of you have done a moderating of a roundtable before, either at an idea day, idea summit, or at an idea night? You are the one who's supposed to moderate. How many of you have done that? Raise your hand if you have. Let me see you. Okay, a few. Not everybody. And so this is key. A few things that I'm going to share, things that I've learned along the way by trial and error, things that have not gone well, things where people have said awkward things and you don't know how to get out of the awkward situation. There have been moments where I felt like I was dominating the conversation and people were not actually buying in, which is the opposite of what we want to do. And so many things that we've learned over years and years of doing this that I figure I would help you with to help people walk away. First of all, this is not the first do or don't, but first of all, it's incredibly important for you to understand that the way the pastor leaves the roundtable and how they feel about the roundtable experience will be very directly related to how the moderation takes place and whether or not they themselves were able to be involved with the conversation. The problem with this is you're going to have different personalities around the group. You're going to have extroverted pastors who love to hear themselves talk, especially when others are present. That's not true of every pastor. You're going to have introverted pastors who are going to be really kind of nervous walking into the room and exhausted by the face-to-face social interaction that happens prior. But the secret is they still want to talk. Each and every one of the ministry leaders coming today, coming to your event, desires to not only receive an idea, but to give an idea. This is the secret of Idea. We didn't know this to begin with. But the reason why Idea Network events actually work is because there is a dialogue, not a monologue, an opportunity for them to speak, to hear their ideas stated out loud, and then go out and do them. Now, some might think, well, that's because people just like to hear themselves talk. Well, that's just because people have an ego. I think it's much more than that. And I think it's much more altruistic than that. I think it is because before we actually are allowed to make an idea come to fruition, many times it's true in my life, we have to be able to verbalize it. We have to say it. We have to say it out loud. We have to be able to express it. We have to, as we verbalize it, really truly explain what this is, not just to people around us, to ourselves. And so the benefit we've seen, those who truly love Idea Day, Idea Night, Idea Summit, or even the virtual roundtables we do with our membership, are those who are involved in the conversation. So how do we make sure that everyone is enjoying themselves, everyone is involved with the conversation? A few things that we're going to share with you right now. Number one, don't dominate the conversation. Already insinuated this. This is not a typical pastor's meeting where somebody's going to get up in front of 20 guys or 10 guys and basically re-preach last Sunday's sermon, get the next person up, they're going to re-preach the last Sunday's sermon, and it's their opportunity to rant and rave. This is not what that is. What this is an opportunity for you to moderate a conversation, not dominate the discussion. Do include everyone in the conversation. Everyone at the table. Now, how do you do this, right? Now, if you've done small groups for any amount of time, you know how to do this. And the answer to that question is by including them, by going to them and saying things like, Stephen, could you open up in a word of prayer? Hey, Jack, what did you think about this point? Hey, Sally, why don't you speak into this situation right here? Now, you say, how is that possible when it comes to a bunch of pastors? Maybe I don't really know. Maybe I've got 7 pastors from the community. 2 of them are assistant pastors, and they're all in there. How would I be able to do that? The answer to that question is you must learn who these people are and you must know things about them. So you're going to have a registration of people coming in for Idea Day or Idea Night. It's your responsibility and incredibly beneficial. You'll be glad you did if you take time to go through each and every one of those names and learn who they are, learn their position. Okay, there's a woman named Jackie coming. Why is Jackie coming? Oh, it looks like she's the director of nursery over at that other. I didn't know directors of nursery were coming, but I'm glad I know that now. You can then look her up on social media. You can find out what she does well there. You can actually find out prior. You can call the pastor and say, hey, look, you have 3 people coming. Can you tell me a little bit about their positions and what they're good at, what they're not good at, whatever it might be? And the reason you do that is because in the midst of the conversation on raising volunteers up, you might be able to say, hey, Jackie, I know that you run the nursery ministry over at Faith Baptist, and I've heard that you're really good at getting volunteers to come in. Could you speak on that for a moment? This allows it not to be a dialogue or a monologue from you about all of your great wisdom. This allows it to be a dialogue where you're bringing in the expertise of these people. And in reality, Jackie knows way more about getting volunteers than you do. You know about writing sermons. You know about building buildings. What they know about is what they know about. They should speak into the roundtable. And sometimes people won't feel comfortable, especially women at the table who have much to add will not feel comfortable in our cultural context speaking in. So don't dominate the discussion. Do include everyone at the table. Do take notes yourself. This is really helpful. Do take notes yourself. If you are sitting there and you open up a notebook and you pull out a pen like everybody else at the table is doing, or they should be doing, number one, you are setting the tone for what needs to happen. You're showing, oh, everybody, you're giving them visual cues. Okay, this is what we're going to do now. Pull out my pen. The second thing it does is it shows that as the moderator, you are also a learner. This is very different than pastors' conferences. And this is why we've seen a lot of people interested in this, because everybody is learning in this moment. And you want to not only project that, you want to actually do that. You don't want to walk away from your idea night being like, man, I didn't really get any ideas because I had to host the whole thing. No, you can get ideas. In fact, I believe the greatest beneficiaries of Idea Network have been Josh Ermler and Josh Tice, because we go to so many of these events. We're getting more ideas than anybody else and implementing them into our church. So do take notes yourself. Number 4 here, don't go over time. Don't allow that to happen. And if you do, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem for your entire group. So if you're going to talk and there's going to be a 10-minute talk that you're giving or somebody else is going 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever, if you're going to give the opening talk, make sure that you end in time so that people can actually have a good conversation. Lastly, let me just address this. What do I do with an awkward situation? And the answer is you soothe the awkward situation, right? You're calamine lotion, you're not gasoline. Your goal is to not throw more gas on the fire. And oftentimes we tend to do that, especially if you're as opinionated as I am. And we do that on social media. And so we're like, oh my goodness, should I do it here? And the answer is no. No, you ought not. And primarily the reason is because some of these conversations are going to be a little bit intense. One of the conversations that some of you can choose, or all of you can choose, is one on racial reconciliation with Kenny Baldwin. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Some are going to love that conversation. I think all will find it interesting, but it could definitely have the potential of going off the rails. Your job is to calm. Your job is to soothe. Your job is to allow people to share very strong opinions on certain things, yet at the same time having the opportunity to make things calm enough to go into the next conversation. So how exactly do you do that? By saying phrases like, that's a very interesting point you bring up, and I'm really glad you said that. There are a lot of people that have that perspective as well. Let's move on to, and then you point out somebody else who has a slightly different point of view who might be able to bring the conversation back around. But again, you only know that if you know everybody at the table and you've done your research prior by stalking them on social media and finding out what they know and how they're good at. By the way, let me just say this. When it comes to our virtual roundtables, some of you guys are involved with that. If you're not, you got to join the membership, man, you're going to love it. But when it comes to even our virtual roundtables, I've led and moderated sessions with people that I don't know personally. And while I'm moderating that session, I'm on my phone looking at their Facebook profile and I'm like, hey, Jack, Jack, you've been a church planter for 3 years in Seattle. That's incredible. Can you tell us how being a church planter has changed your perspective of evangelism? And so you say, I don't know these people. You can know these people. All you have to do is have a list of their names and begin doing the research. Well, those are some do's and don'ts for moderating a roundtable. I think a little later we may have an opportunity for Q&A, and we can go to that. But I think at this point, we are moving on to Josh or Kylie. Kylie.
Yes. Okay, I have a few things for you guys today. I wanted to share my screen with you so we could actually walk through the schedule specifically. That way we can all make sure we are definitely on the same page. So this is on the website. So if you go to ideanetwork.com/ideanight, you will find, actually I think it's just /night, but here's all your tickets. Some of you mentioned you weren't sure about your tickets. Here they are. So the schedule is very important, and each element of this discussion or schedule is very important. And I will ask each of you to please respect this schedule for so many reasons. But first off, it's because we've been very intentional about what we've put on this schedule and the order in which it is on this schedule. So you would open in prayer, welcome in prayer. You can, like Pastor Josh said, have one of your delegates maybe pray as a good way to go ahead and get them engaged. If you're wondering, on the note of knowing your delegates, if you're wondering, how am I going to know who's coming? We will send you a list of your registration. Your host assistant will need to know exactly the names and everything about the delegates who are attending. So we will be sending that to you. So you will have that ahead of time. And you can do your Facebook stalking, your social media stalking to know who is attending your church, what church they came from, and all of that. And that's a great way, honestly, part of this is for you to be able to get to know your local ministry leaders. These are people who are your friends or could be your friends. They're within driving distance of your church. And so, this is more than just getting them to come to your church for an event. This could be true relationship. So you'll have access to that. So you just Facebooked, stalked John. And so you ask him to pray. Have a bit of an intro time, maybe ask people to share their names, where they're from, what church, and all of that, and then get right into the first national simulcast speaker. So this is whoever you have selected, your 2 session selections. And then immediately after that, your first local speaker would come up. So they follow on the first one, they follow the national speaker. So your local speaker specifically is giving local context. So they are speaking on the same topic as the national speaker. Say you chose Kenny Baldwin's Grace Matters session. Your local speaker would then come up and also speak on Grace Matters. And he would say you're in Kings Mill, Ohio. How does what Kenny Baldwin say apply specifically to Kings Mill, Ohio? The things that are going on racially in Kings Mill, Ohio are so different than the things going on here in Portland. And so you guys want to be able to talk specifically about that. And so then reflection Q&A, you'll have the notes, you'll have the discussions, questions that come in your box. And then you go into that conversation around the first topic, around the table. Then there's a break and intermission. I would really like to highlight this point here. The intermission is not an option, specifically the video. Whether you guys actually take a break or not, don't really care so much about that. But watching that intermission video, specifically because this intermission video is a sponsorship video and also announcements that we want to make to you guys. And so the Idea Night is made possible by these sponsors. And so they are having a message that they want to get to you guys. And so if you take a break and people are in the back having coffee, and then you turn the video on in the background and, we're just going to play this intermission video really quick. And then everyone comes and sits down and then you continue the night. And no one really actually saw the intermission video. That puts us in an awkward position because we've told these sponsors that we will show their video. We will, do what they've sponsored us for. And if that's not being done, that's on us. So we just ask you to help us with that and show the intermission video. Make sure you take a break, get some coffee, whatever refreshments you may have, and come back and sit down and have the intermission video, and then get back into your next session. That would be a huge help, and just following that schedule. So the next thing on the list here is the second simulcast session. So this is where we've had a lot of questions, understandably. It switches, so don't get confused here. It's kind of like a sandwich. So you've got, on the outsides, you've got your national speakers. On the insides, you've got your local speakers, and intermission in the middle, okay? So immediately after the intermission is your local speaker coming up, giving local context. Say you chose Josh Tice's deacons, leaders, lay leaders, and how to have a mentorship program in your church. So he would come up, and how does that apply to our area? What is the cultural context among the churches in our area? Are they friendly to mentorship programs and having lay leaders take a true leadership position in the church, blah, blah, blah. And then you would have Josh Tice's video show for the national, the reflection Q&As on the notes, the conversation, roundtable conversation, and then prayer and dismissal at 8:30. Please do try to end at 8:30, even if you are getting a great vibe from all of your delegates and everyone is just loving the event and they just want to stick around till 1 a.m. That's great. You have full power to do that. However, we do want the actual event to end at 8:30 for continuity's sake, for the maybe one person who's got kids at home with a babysitter that needs to get back. And then everyone else is welcome to stay and continue the conversation, keep discussing the topics, fellowshipping, all of that. But please do try to dismiss and allow people the opportunity to leave if they need to. So I do want to make one introduction here. We have a new member to our crew. So this is Courtney Winters. She is the operations assistant for Idea Network. So I'm the operations director and Courtney's the operations assistant. She's going to be helping us with a lot of administrative things. Actually, all of you already received a phone call from her yesterday, just trying to shore up some details that we need for either for your ticket or just for our knowledge. So if you haven't seen her call come through, she did call each of you. It may have gone to your host assistant, but that she did also send a follow-up email to each of you. So you should have a point of contact from Courtney already. Please do respond to her as you would any of us and help her with that information, because she is really helping us with that information. So you'll probably be hearing you'll be hearing from her quite a bit over the next few weeks, as she'll be helping out specifically with Idea Night and then continuing on. So everyone, welcome Courtney. I'm stoked to have her on board. So that is Courtney. Next thing is, as we touched on already, your 2 session selections. So we have about, I would say 10% of you have already turned in your 2 session selections. So I know a lot of you are kind of antsy. You're like, I want to see the whole video, and I'm getting emails like, I'd love to see the whole video. And I'm like, I'd love to give it to you as soon as I know which ones you want. You've got to tell me, which 2 sessions do you want? And Courtney is helping me with sending out those links for the 2 sessions that you'd like. And you can watch the whole video now. It's ready, it's up, it's done. You can watch the whole thing, and maybe you watch it and you're like, oh, maybe not what I thought it was. We can exchange it. Not a huge deal. We don't want to do that 5 times so that you end up seeing all 5 of them. But we will send those to you so you can know for sure that that's the video that you want to show for your local context. But please do, even right now, let's pause. Everyone, if you have not sent in your 2 session selections, please put it in the chat, send me a text, send Courtney an email, call me, I don't care. I'll answer on this call. Please send in your 2 session selections so that we can get going on that. It also affects your social media graphics. So if you've hosted before, you know that we send you a custom social media graphic. And I would love to do that again this year. But again, the graphic is mainly to promote who you have chosen as your two speakers so that the people attending know what the topics are. But if I don't know what those topics are, I also can't make your graphic. So that element right there really, a lot of things hinge on that. So as soon as you know, I know some of you maybe are still deciding if you need to watch the sneak peek video again that we tried to show earlier and there was a few technical errors, that's okay. It is on the replay video of the last session, the whole thing. And so you can watch it there. If you don't know where that link is, I will gladly send it to you. But please do try to make that decision this week and get that information over to Courtney. And she'll send you the full length video link as soon as you let us know. One note on your social media graphic, I would also need a photo of yourself and ideally of your local speakers, but at least of yourself. So I did have one question come up of a gentleman a host who just is having a really hard time finding local speakers. He's more in a remote area. Look, if the local speakers thing's just not working for your site this year, don't let that deter you from still hosting. It is a huge benefit to your site if you have that local context. But if you have to be the local speaker for each of those sessions, just be the local speaker yourself as the host. Do both. And we've done that in the past. It's not a deal breaker. It is technically required to do the local speaker, but if that is just not working for your local context, then don't do that, and just you moderate the whole thing, okay? I know that's not ideal, and we would love for you to have that local speaker aspect because it is very valuable, but we also don't want it to make you not be able to host, and then all the local ministry leaders in your area can't attend a site because there is no site anymore. Okay, your box. So technically, you've seen on the emails that your box is due today, July 20th. The purchase of your box lets us know, like, a final confirmation. I'm still here, I'm game, I'm in. And so if you could purchase your box, that also triggers a few things on my end as far as print materials and things like that. Another reason why I need the 2 session selections. I cannot print the notes until I know how many of each session we need for the notes, the printed notes, which will come in your box. By the way, I don't know if I've shown you guys this yet. Can you see this? This is your host box. Isn't it so pretty? It's blending in. There it is. There, you can kind of see the bottom there. It matches the background, literally. So that's making it difficult. But it says, thank you for hosting on the front. It's a gorgeous box. It's definitely an upgrade from years past. But this box will be shipping out on August 24th, which means I need to know all of your information, every nitty gritty detail, well before then, which is now. So please, like I said with Courtney, help her get that information that she's looking for. Specifically, one thing that's a hard deadline is August 3rd is the absolute last day that your staff or whoever you use your 5 tickets for. Remember, you have 5 free tickets as a host. You have 5 free tickets. If you're a charter member, you already received 2 free tickets. So if you're a charter member, you technically have 7 free tickets, okay? But you will need to use the right code. So for a charter member, you have the code that's on your ticket that you already received. For a host, you have 5 free tickets and your code is live. It's simply the city of your ticket, 5, okay? So I see Adam Perlstein. He's technically in Orting, Washington. Nobody's heard of Orting, Washington. I'm sorry, Pastor Rule, but his ticket is Seattle, Washington, because people know Seattle and it's like right there. So his code is Seattle 5. Most of you, your ticket is your city, your actual city. So Smith Station, Ohio, it's Smith Station 5. Kings Mill, Ohio, Kings Mill 5. Garland, Texas, technically Dallas, Texas. So that's Dallas 5 is your code. So just check your ticket because they correlate. So your ticket, city, 5, no space. That's your code for 5 free tickets. That could be for your staff. That could be incentivization to a local pastor who just needs that final push to come and, hey, here's a free ticket. And so now he's coming and all of that. However, if in order to receive a custom badge for Idea Night, I have to have that registration by August 3rd, absolute latest. Simply put, it's nothing personal. If I don't have a registration for your staff by August 3rd, they're just going to receive a blank badge. I know your name because you're the host. I can order a blank a custom badge for you. By the way, you do still need to register as one of those, just so we have the final count. But I don't know the name of your staff and the 5 people who maybe would receive a custom badge if they were to register before August 3rd. So please do mark that date down, August 3rd, last day for custom badges. The boxes will ship August 24th. So you will have them, if even it takes the longest amount of time it could possibly take, you will have them 2 to 3 weeks before the event with all of the supplies that you need. So that was a lot. Don't be overwhelmed. We will be calling and emailing and slightly harassing you for this information. So we'll follow up, but please do respond to those phone calls and emails. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over, give you guys a break from that. I am going to link while Josh Ermler is talking, I'm going to put in the chat below a link to the Google Drive where you can get the broad social media graphics. So there's quite a few actually. So even if you don't have your custom social media graphic yet, you can go ahead and start promoting your site. By the way, next week, actually today, we are 2 months out. 2 months out. So one of the things that Courtney did was in her phone call yesterday, if you got to talk with her, she's actually telling you your current delegate attendance registration. So you can find out how many are already registered for your site. As of right now, though, we are 2 months out. So this is really where the promotion needs to start happening for the delegates' sake, so that they can just know what's going on. Sneak peek, we are going to be doing a promotion next week in celebration of our 100th Idea Talks episode. We're going to put out a special deal for delegates. That does not apply to your 5 tickets. Your 5 tickets are free, so you can't really get better than that. But just so you won't know, if you want to help encourage the people you're trying to get to come to your site to register, next week may help with that. Man, I think there was one other thing, but there's always one other thing. We're going to turn it over to Pastor Josh and look for that link for the Google Drive in the chat.
All right. Well, we are about to announce something today to the entire Idea Network. And since we are on a call with you, we're going to let you hear about this first. It's been communicated that we haven't planned to be doing an event in Las Vegas this January, which we have every year. I think for the last 7 or 8 years, we've had an Idea Day event in Las Vegas. And the reality is that isn't 100% accurate. And so what we're going to announce today is there is going to be a Las Vegas Idea Day happening the same time as it always is, that 4th week in January, that Tuesday. The difference with this particular event is it's a members exclusive event. So a bunch of you guys are members, part of the Idea Network membership, and you're involved in the weekly roundtables. So we want you to know, as part of that membership, not only are you invited to the Las Vegas Idea Day event, it is actually free to you. So it won't cost you a penny. All you have to do is just get there and you can be a part of the Las Vegas Idea Day. And so we wanted to let you know that that is a thing. If that's something that you would be interested in, for all of our charter members, we're encouraging you to be a part. Now, maybe some of you are hosting this Idea Night. You don't know a lot about, okay, what is the Idea Network membership? I thought I was already a member. I'm here, I'm doing this. We have a special program. It's called our Idea Network membership program, and it is a weekly roundtable. It's like this. We do our roundtables. We have speakers come in to speak for 10 minutes. Then we break off into sessions and we have roundtable discussions where we share ideas. And we do this every single Tuesday as part of our official Idea Network charter membership. And we're so thankful. We've got right about 70 churches or so that are a part of the official charter membership. And if you're sponsoring an Idea Night and maybe you're not an official member, we want to encourage you to jump on board. We are actually opening back up registration for a limited window time starting in August. And so this will be something that'll go from August through the Idea Night. So even folks that come to Idea Night can jump in, and then we're shutting the doors again and we're closing down registration for the Idea Network membership. And the reason for that is because we're very systematic in the curriculum that we're going through, the talks that we're doing, the modules that we're hitting, kind of like college would be. We have these specific things we're hitting. And so we don't just kind of keep membership open all the time. We open it once or twice a year. And if guys want to jump in for the next set of modules, they can. So if you didn't jump in back in January when we opened up the network membership, you will now have a chance to jump in again. Now, if you jump in this time, we're still going to give you access to that Idea Network exclusive event that's going to happen in January. And like I said, that event is 100% free of charge. So if you've not heard about it before, real quick, I know about half of you guys that are here are already part of the charter membership, but for those of you who are not, basically every week, you, and not just you, but your entire staff and leadership team have access to these roundtables. And so if the roundtable discussion is on small groups, you can have your small group leaders a part of those. It's not just a pastor's membership, it really is for an entire church and leadership team. So you get those roundtables. You also, as a pastor, you get to be part of the exclusive Facebook group. So right now we have right around 100 folks or so who are part of our exclusive Facebook group, which we have a community that has a couple thousand folks that are in the Facebook community, but we have an exclusive group that really for pastors, so we can kind of go nitty gritty and dive into some of the conversations that we've been having. The third thing that you have access to is the resource library. We are constantly making resources available every single week, and there's a backlog of resources that are available to you that you can have access to, that your team can have access to. So you also get that. And then just for fun, we throw in what we call our bonus merch box. So for anybody who jumps in, you're going to get the bonus merch box sent to your home. It has t-shirts and tumblers. It has a lot of free vouchers for publications with Idea Network, for exclusive events that you can be a part of. As Kylie said earlier, they're getting free Idea Night tickets. There's just a whole lot of merch, a lot of things that we're giving away. As part of the membership, we're constantly doing challenges, and we're doing different basically kind of raffles and things that we'll do in the membership. In fact, I see Chris Rule right here. Chris just a few weeks ago won a 3-day, 4-night, 3-day vacation, and we could go anywhere in the continental United States, and he picked up, and I think if I remember, kind of northeast area. And so he's going on a free vacation with his family. That was one of the prizes that we gave away. So every week we're giving away different prizes for guys who are completing some of the challenges and some of the workshops and things that we're throwing out there through the membership. So if you would like to jump on board, you'll have the opportunity to do that next week since we kick off in August. And that will also allow you to be a part, if you would like, to come to the Idea Day exclusive in January 2022. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out. For those of you who are already on board, be sure to tell maybe your friends, maybe you got a pastor friend and you've been helped for the last 6 months by this. We've got a whole new lineup of sessions and modules that we're going to be doing. It's not going to be the same stuff stuff just hashed all over again. We've got a whole brand new set of modules that we're going to be hitting. It's going to be really, really good. We're bringing in a lot more kind of expert speakers over the next few sets of modules. So we got some new things coming down the pike, and we're really excited about that. So if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to let us know. We're looking forward to seeing maybe a few of you guys jump in on the actual charter membership. So Kylie.
Okay. We just have a quick invitation to you guys for the 11 o'clock roundtable, the charter member roundtable. I'll actually be speaking about events today, and you can experience what the roundtable feels like, and also listen to the moderators as far as how to moderate. They've gone through a moderator training much more in depth than the brief training that we just did. But you are welcome. We're going to take about 10 minutes before we break and just do a Q&A. If any of you have any questions about Idea Night specifically, we'd love to answer those now. So go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. All right. Well, that's actually great, because hopefully it means we've communicated clearly. One thing that I have noticed is on these calls are required for the host and the host assistant. So if either one is not here, please do watch the replay, and if maybe your assistant isn't here, send them the replay of this. I'll actually need to get in contact with the host assistant to specifically go over registration, but that's not something that you will want as the host. If you're a host here, that's not something you will want to worry about on the night of. You just want to focus on the delegates and networking with them and forming that relationship. Yes, Pastor James.
Hey, so I have a question about hosting. So I've got another pastor here at the church that we're basically hosting together, because he's got the connection with the group of churches that we're kind of affiliated with. And then I've got the connection with the local churches. Mm-hmm. Is there a way, because last year we tried to do it and it didn't work out, but is there a way to basically have two hosts? Because I know you guys need a picture of the host. But can we do two hosts that way?
If it's simply for the picture, for promotion's sake, I think that would be fine. As far as communication and boots on the ground goes, we will need one point of contact. So whoever that host assistant is, and then also as far as the free and the perks go, the free tickets, that is per site, not necessarily per host. So if you had a second host or a co-host in that sense, you wouldn't necessarily get 5 more free tickets. It would still just be 5 free tickets, because that comes with the box. And so the little perks and things you would still only receive one of, but we could definitely add his picture to the social media graphic, because that might help his crew recognize that he's in this too, and your crew, and coming together. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, so if you just want to email over his photo, I think we have your photo, or if you want to update your photo, just email that over and we'll get that made for you. The social media graphics, the custom ones that we make for you guys, are extremely helpful to you and for your promotion. It just puts everything in one screen that allows you to just put it out and gives all the information that they need. It'll help save a lot of questions for maybe your church receptionist. As it gets closer to the day of the event, you'll start receiving a lot of phone calls. Is there childcare? Is there refreshments? All these questions that we could answer even just on your ticket and on your custom graphic. So we'd love to make that for you guys as soon as we have all the information required for it.
One more thing, Kylie. Somebody just asked, and I think it was a good question. We are going to be making all the videos available for purchase as kind of like an upsell. We're having a hard time trying to figure out exactly how to do that in the current setup that we have. So the average person, say they like the 2 sessions that you're going to be doing live at your location, but they want to hear some of the other sessions. There will be a way for them on the website to actually purchase the remainder sessions. So we'll probably make it an announcement at the Idea Night that you'll make to the folks that are there, that they can go on the website and get the other talks. That'll be available to them. The issue we're having, it's just a little bit difficult to do that with the current setup that we have to purchase tickets in all these unique locations and do that, but it will be available on the website. And so they'll get all 5 of those sent to them the day after Idea Night for an additional charge. I think it's like $29 or something. And then they can have access to all of those permanently there. So if that's something that's interesting to you, feel free to let us know, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
One thing that I'll add is what is really a good idea 2 months out and then 1 month out. What we've noticed about these events is that if you actually schedule maybe sometime this week, 45 minutes to an hour to specifically and intentionally spend that first portion of 30 minutes in prayer, please lay upon my heart the ministry leaders that need to be invited to this. Why do we do this? And I know I kind of mentioned this in the last training, but the reason that we do this is because what we're doing is we're saying, okay, this is a spiritual work. This is warfare that's happening. There are some pastors right now, community leaders, ministry leaders within our local church, outside of our local church, across town, that are deeply in need of fellowship and deeply in need of friendship right now. And so what that does is when I schedule, if I don't do this, I'm telling you 2 months will go by and we'll be at Idea Night and it'll be great and it won't have happened. But when I do this, what happens is the Holy Spirit says, you know what, you haven't talked to that pastor you met at that car wash 2 years ago. You haven't talked to them in 6 months. Text that guy and invite them to Idea Night. And so giving yourself a little margin, scheduling intentionally a little bit of margin of prayer time with the Lord, where it's like, okay, I've got an hour, I've scheduled it. I'm going to spend the first 30 minutes in prayer, the next 30 minutes practically on your knees with the with your phone, texting and being like, hey, God just brought you to my mind. How you doing? I want to invite you to this pastor's get together that we're doing. Or if they're just a ministry leader, I want to invite you to this ministry leaders thing that we've got going on. And I've had deacons come on my heart. I've had ministry leaders in our own local church come on my heart. I've had pastors that I haven't talked to in years. I had a situation where the pastor, we weren't very close here in the city, and God brought them to my heart at one event. And I'm like, amen. And it actually re-engaged and made that relationship finally strong again. And so I really want to encourage you. I know I've said that before, maybe it's the first time you're hearing it, but to schedule an hour this week and then put another hour about a month from now, schedule that hour and say, okay, that's my prayer and invite time to invite those pastors. Because again, that puts us down to a place of what we're actually doing. We're really, really attempting to build friendship and relationship among ministry leaders who are discouraged and need help. Now, we focus that on ideas. We don't put it out there, be like, you're depressed, come to our depressed roundtable, because nobody would come. We're going to share ideas, but really, the heart of this is really to help ministry leaders develop deep relationships and talking about methodology, theology, and philosophy around a roundtable that builds stronger relationships for the purpose of continued ministry. So just a practical tip on bringing it to the spiritual realm and then bringing it to the practical. I want to mention that.
So I am uploading just a few more social media graphics. The link was there, but if it's easier for you to just download it straight from here, please feel free to do that. Specifically the 2-month graphic that I literally just posted, because today is that 2 months. So you can go ahead and post that. People, we sometimes overlook things until we put it into reality of, oh my goodness, that's 2 months away. It feels like we have all this time, but no, 2 months, we all know, goes very quickly. So hopefully those graphics will help you. And then as soon as we receive all of your information, we can get you custom graphics, which are way more fun. So please feel free to reach out. I believe all of you have my number at this point. I will add it into the chat just in case if you need to text me or call me. Of course, you all have my email. And then Courtney is also going to be reaching out again today if she didn't have a chance to get to you yesterday. I know a lot of you ministry leaders take Monday off, so that's no problem at all. So we're trying to work around your schedule. Okay, so if you guys want to stick around, it's the same link. You can hop off and jump back on if you want, but it is the same link for the roundtable today. So feel free to stay on and enjoy the roundtable, which is usually exclusively for charter members, but today we're opening up to you Idea Night host, and maybe learn some things from the moderators as well.